Well, I mean, obviously they're kind of like, as a group, this is something that they've all been, escalating. The problem here is that they've been escalating their behavior, and that's why they initially called me into the cottage. Yeah, and I'm just right, exactly. I'm just aligning with them. Yes, I expect you to do. JuJu's doing cursing behavior. He's participating. Right? And that's great. Like good job. And essentially I'm patting him on the back. And the only way that so what can JuJu do to get me to stop patting him on the back? Right, he has to have impulse control, and he has to undo. He can't be promoting his inappropriate behavior.
And it worked. He got uncomfortable.
Yeah, and he kind of walked out. Yeah. That's correct. You can get a sense that the kids here in general are comfortable in being in a position where they're being berated. They're told, and what was interesting here is that because they're so comfortable being told that they're wrong and everybody's disappointed in them. If I would have said at any point, hey, you guys didn't do your old behavior, good job, pat on the back, that would have separated us. And the very point that I said to them, guys, I'm disappointed in you, right? In a strange way, I'm allying with them again. Because how many people have said to them in their life, I'm disappointed in you, right? And now, here they think that, oh, well, finally I did the right behavior, and the guy's complaining that he's disappointed in us. Right. And again, it's counterintuitive to what we normally do, right. And it kind of like, you kind of watch it, and it goes, oh, you watch it and it seems easy, but you can imagine it did take me a bit of practice to get to this point where I'm comfortable doing this kind of intervention. So let's back it up a little bit. We're going to break that down to smaller slices and kind of go over what happened there. Let me see here. Okay. All right. This is going to be 57 seconds.
Okay. So what we talked about last week was that we were working on a project.
No, I ain't gonna project for you.
And part of the project was that we were going to create a baseline of everybody's behavior in the cottage. Like how many people did their cursing this week?
Like we're gonna tell you.
Well, if you don't tell me, then the staff is going to tell me. So somebody's going to tell me. Guys, I'm looking for a little participation here. Come on.
No.
Come on. If we're going to work on the project together, this is something we're doing all together, all right? All right, so let's just get some numbers here. Who is the best at cursing this week?
I don't know.
Guys, come on.
Okay. Okay. Okay, so I thought one of the main pieces in that was when I kind of was like, I'm trying to encourage them to come on, guys, why don't we talk about this? How did you do during the week? And one of the residents says, like, we're going to tell you. You're not part of you're not part of our group. We're not going to tell you. But that's part of the intervention. And actually, when I walk in, even though I'm kind of making it as if, oh, you guys are of course going to talk about how it went during the week, I know full well that they're going to be acting the way that they acted in the video. And the point is now I want to get across to them that it's not just me that sees your behavior. Now I'm going to tell you that I'm going to ask the staff about your behavior. Okay? So you thought that it was only me that's watching your behavior. It's actually much more than that. Okay? Okay. Questions about that? Any? Okay.
So we're going to have to get the staff involved here.
Yes,
Hey, I'm going to ask you, how well did the boys do cursing this week?
Well, we only had 5 residents this week.
Little shit.
Well, this weekend. And I remember I went and tallied up some, and it was, what's the name? I don't see
You got Hurricane, Shady, Pooky, JuJu, Cream Hand, Belleville.
Look, that's just in the movie, you say clean hand. She started laughing. Right there.
Belleville, JuJu.
Well, I mean, I'm talking about the whole
general?
Yeah, in general.
In general.
All right. Now, how many times would you say that, let's say, JuJu was supposed to.
JuJu, I think I got like 4 times.
4, that's it, 4?
Yeah, and cream.
4,
Yeah.
4.
For that one day that I was here.
You act, you act, you act. You gay, you gay, you gay.
One day that I was here, I tallied 4.
4.
Yes, for JuJu.
All right.
And
He acting, he thought he was gonna cook like 20
I'll put 4 down. I think he's got more potential than that. He's got much more potential than 4.
I just put down 4. You mad? You mad?
for cream, and it was 2.
Come on.
For the one day.
These are not numbers.
One day that I was here.
Luke, heard her 2.
Sumo gang.
And you acting so right down with
Cream
9.
Hand only gets 2.
That's it. I guess I'm the only one that tallied.
Okay, all right, Mrs. Ward. I'm very disappointed in you guys. All right?
You didn't do that.
I'm disappointed because you guys are not living up to your potential.
Are you homosexual?
All right?
Are you
You're not
homosexual?
listening to me. You're not
No, I'm
listening.
listening.
Yo, you fucking fruit.
guys-
Yo, you fucking fruitcake, you fucking faggot.
You guys,
I'm gonna enjoy you, son of a G shit. Nah, cause he's that saying that we're not living up to our potential. We supposed to do that. We supposed to bust that.
This is
We
what
supposed to
you guys
have
normally do.
sex noises.
This is
Nah,
not.
don't say you
This is
got
what
What kind
you
of gay
guys
shit is that?
normally do.
Okay. Okay. All right. Any comments? Yeah.
Is this not something that you do with a client that you already have developed an attachment with, that's trusting you to provide some healthy?
If you have the attachment and they're looking to you for guidance, you don't need to do this. Right? So this is really, these are kids that have, their intent is not to attach, and that's kind of why I'm doing what I'm doing. Right.
So what if they're, so if it's more long-term, and this is sort of how things begin, how
Right.
do you transition into a different?
In my view, the transition may be to get other people involved. Maybe I might not be the continuing therapist. You know, I mean, maybe I am, but because in situations that I continue the therapy, what I've often said to the client is like, "Wow, I remember the days when you used to get into a fight every other day." And to tell you the truth, I miss those days. You know, so in other words, I'm letting the client know, I'm acknowledging to the client that they used to do a certain behavior, right? But now you don't do that behavior anymore. But at the same time, I'm also letting them know, you know, if you change your mind, I don't mind. I don't know if that makes any sense. Yeah.
And I guess my assumption would be if you are doing this with kids that don't want to attach, they ultimately, by default, end up attaching or they change their behavior, so therefore now they may not be as close to attaching with a therapist and actually seeking guidance. Because isn't that kind of the idea, is that as they participate in the positive behavior, they're actually getting the reinforcement from within. So there may come a day where now they are not as defiant, as resistant.
Well, I think what's interesting about the attachment, the concept of attachment, I think that historically we take it that, well, it's a 50-50 deal, okay? That, you know, we're kind of, you know, I think that the conventional wisdom is, okay, you know what, I'm going to go in, you know, we need to create the attachment, and you know what, I'm going to do 50% and the client's going to do 50%. You know what, I'll tell you what, I'll do 60%, but they've got to come out at least 40% to help out with this attachment so that we can work together, okay? And what I'm saying, basically, and what you're watching here is I'm saying, no, you don't have to do that. I'm just attaching, I'm doing 99% of the work here. I'm doing 99.85% of the work here, okay? And I'm not relying on whether they're going to agree with me or whether they want to attach with me. I'm saying we're attached already. And by simply doing that, by simply telling them that the attachment is there, okay, what ends up happening is that they unravel on their own. Spontaneously, they're unraveling. Okay? I'm not telling them to unravel. Right? They're just shifting, you know, it's like, you know, I'm going in, okay? So I'm attaching over here, and all of a sudden they start doing stuff over here, and when it comes out to an equilibrium, it's going to be that there's going to be less of the volatile behavior on the outside, meaning that there's more flexibility. That's what that means. Instead of the volatile behavior being rigid, okay, it doesn't necessarily take it away, but what it means is that when the person has more choices, right, from over here, Okay, so the healthy personality, more flexibility means more choices. More choices means more impulse control. So that's what I'm trying to get across to these guys, is that they have more impulse control in doing their behavior.
And I guess what I was thinking is going from, like what she was saying, if you are going to work with them long term.
Right.
And if you use this in the beginning, and you are going to have to be the primary therapist for
Okay.
6 months or 9 months, and you cannot get them to work with you, so you use this in the beginning. Now you don't have the option to say, I'm not going to be the long-term therapist.
Right, okay, right.
Does that make
Right.
sense?
Yeah, but I mean, what it also means is that the relationship between me and the client will change. In other words, you know, I'm going to come in and I will accept the client wherever they're at, and as they go through changes, as they do their habitual problematic behavior less, I'm going to acknowledge that. I'm going to say, wow, you know, I remember the days when you used to do this behavior all the time. You used to get into fights, you used to get in restriction all the time, you used to be in timeout every other day. You haven't done that in a while, have you now? Huh? Those were fun days, weren't they? You know, you sure you don't want to go back to that? That was exciting, you know, like it was always something happening. I don't know, that's not happening anymore. I mean, I like seeing, you don't have to change if you don't want to, but, you know, like at least the old days, you know. What I'm doing is I'm letting the client know that I haven't made that choice. You've made a choice to do that behavior less.
But how do you then avoid coming across as sort of sarcastic or that paradoxical approach impacting the attachment? Because they'd have to, you know, if you have a strong attachment, they may want to view that you care about them, but you're saying you miss the days essentially when I wasn't doing well, and that could come across as sarcasm, or even paradoxical interventions could be more passive-aggressive. Mm-hmm. Could run the
Well, and you're raising a good question. I mean, again, when I do an intervention, I'm constantly, in my mind, there's like a little spin going on. Am I like, okay, am I trying to do one of these to the kids? You know, am I giving them a, you know, like a poke? You know, or is my intent to simply say, you know what, I remember the days when we were first together that it was like in a certain way, and now these days are different. So if you get a sense, my intent is not to be sarcastic, because once you're sarcastic, now you're cutting the alliance, right? The alliance can never be sarcastic. So my focus is always on what can I say now that will show this child that I'm a witness to their history, and that I'm a witness to what they're doing now, and where do we go from here? Okay? So my intent is always to get across to the client that I know you, that I'm trying to be connected to you, and that I want the best for you.